Welcome back to the workshop. In this video I'll be showing you how I tillered this deflex reflex bow made of hickory. This is a slightly unusual bow for hickory because it has a chased growth ring back. That's because it came from a piggyback stave. This is when you get the stave from a log so large that the inner split of the stave will be large enough to make a bow out of, and so it's not worth throwing away. After splitting and drying the stave, I realized it had significant deflex. Now normally, deflex is thought of as being counter to performance, since it reduces the stored energy in your design. But this trade-off can be very strategic if you use it to take the edge off of a performance feature, like reflex. While reflex and deflex cancel each other out, any reflex at the tips that does not pull out will contribute to superior string angles and reduced stack in the draw. The other big advantage of deflexed reflex designs is that less of the wood's energy storage capacity is wasted by bringing the bow to brace height. Anyone who's built aggressive recurve bows knows how wild and unwieldy they are to brace. So naturally, the plan was to make a deflex recurve, but things didn't go according to plan, and when I bent the tips, I didn't quite bend them as far as I wanted to. The tips both warped severely and began to crack. While I was able to carve beyond the cracks, I would be dealing with the warped tips for the rest of the build. Okay, to start off, I'm seeing way too much inner limb bending. Now with the deflex reflex bow, it's always going to look like there's more inner limb bending compared to a parallel limb bow, just because of the inner limb deflex. So I was expecting that from the start. So moving on, I'm going to focus on the mid limbs and the outer limbs, trying to get a little more thickness taper through the tips. After some adjustments, things are looking better, but I'm needing another round of the same. In between tillering sessions, I like to touch up the profiles of the bow, as well as the way the limbs flow into the tips and handle. I have a hard time making these transitions graceful, unless I work on them incrementally as the bow is tillered. This was especially important with this bow because the twisted tips did not stabilize for weeks after bending them. If I tried to carve them all at once, they would have simply moved again. Some staves just take more patience than others. Okay, now we have the bow at a low brace height, and it's starting to look much more bow-like. For the most part, I kept working on the same areas, the outer half on the right, and the outer 2/3 on the left. Inner limb bending is a tricky judgment call with these deflexed bows. I still think it was a little more inner limb bending than I wanted at this early stage. left side is finally starting to look better. It's not bending as severely from the inner limbs now. I think I see some mid-limb stiffness too, so that's where I work next. I'm seeing more bend from the right side, but that's okay because it's the top limb, and I want a bit of positive tiller anyway. By the way, the reason this is necessary is that putting the arrow pass above the center puts more mechanical advantage on the lower limb. We can't both hold the bow at the center and shoot the arrow from the center, so we have to compromise. Next I'll be heat treating. When I work with whitewoods, I like to do as many heat treats as I have the patience for. This allows me to always be tillering on heat treated wood, which makes the wood feel more lively and less spongy, and overall really helps to keep the set down. If you're looking for heat treating tips, see my video on heat treating. And by the way, if you need step-by-step bow making instructions, the board bow tutorial might be the video you're looking for. And if you're feeling out of the loop about the whole tillering process, check out my video Tillering Explained. All these videos are linked in the description below, or you can find them in the playlist of Beginner Essentials. As we get closer to full draw, I like to take care of the detail work, like rounding out the corners. I also like to finish up the aesthetics of the back of the bow. I've already chased a growth ring, of course, but I usually leave remnants of crunchy early wood. I like to remove these more delicately, later in the process. This gives me a better chance of successfully making a pristine back, but the early wood also provides some scratch protection to the back of the bow during the rough parts of the carving process. Ultimately, the goal is for the back of the bow to be made of one pristine layer of late wood. The tiller is looking much better, but I still haven't finished chasing that inner limb bedding on the left side. This is a good opportunity to work the outer 2/3 on the left, since the left side is looking like it's the stiffer limb anyway. I decided to do another heat treat. Since I wasn't able to add as much reflex to this bow as I wanted, I would have to rely on heat treating to prevent excess string follow. String follow gets a bad reputation, but if you talk to many bowyers, you'll often hear their favorite bows have a healthy amount. Set is always worth avoiding if you can, but a bit of string follow doesn't always hurt, and makes for a sweet and forgiving shooter. Okay, the left side is looking much better. I'm still seeing a little stiffness in the mid-limb area. Okay, I think I need one more session of mid-limb adjustments on the left side. Now that I've almost reached my draw length, it's time to shoot in the bow. I usually like to do this for about a week, or at least a couple hundred shots. If you finish the bow before it becomes stable, you may have to remove your finish to adjust the tiller. This can be a bummer if you've put down any artwork, so it's worth being patient here if you can wait. I decided to add a bit of a blue fade out to the tips and handles. Cornflowers have a really nice blue pigment that can be applied by rubbing the flower like a marker. This pigment is an anthocyanin, I believe, and is not color fast. But I don't mind using fugitive stains on bows. This blue color usually lasts me several years and easily outlasts the finish. This one came out to about 45 pounds at 28 inches, or 50 pounds at 30. The handle wrap and arrow pass are salmon leather, and the finish is shellac. If you have any lingering bowmaking questions you've struggled to get answered, let me know, and I'll give them my best shot. And as always, if you need some guidance with your bows, visit me at r/bowyer on Reddit. Until the next time, may the bow gods be with you, and may your arrows fly true.